Hi guys, and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today in the store the Panzer IV Hydrostat has made a reappearance along with the Stug 4. Now I covered the Stug 4 in a review a few weeks ago when it came on the store then, so today we're going to be looking at the Panzer IV Hydro. And I'd say the most comparable thing to it in the tech tree is the normal Panzer IV. I've got the GUP version, which is exactly the same as a fully upgraded Panzer IV with the 75mm as opposed to the howitzer, so we'll compare it a little bit to that. But first let's have a look at it in the store and see what its pricing is at the minute. Now it comes in two bundles. You've got the fully loaded and the loaded. Fully loaded comes with ventilation, medium caliber tank gun rammer, an enhanced gun lane drive, usual mix of shells, a garage slot and a day of premium, and of course an ace op, and that's 3,800. And the loaded is the improved vents, mix of shells, garage slot, day of premium, and again the ace op. Now its listed price is 2,500 gold in the Tankopedia. So at 2,900 it's 400 more, but you do get the garage slot, they're normally 300, and a day of premium, so it's not too bad. It's you know, you are saving a little bit of money there, and it's, you know, quite a decent price really. So like I say, it's essentially the same as a Panzer IV-H or the GUP, but with slightly less armour on the front. The Panzer IV-H has 80mm of armour on the front, this has 50, but apart from that the armour values are the same, which is 30 on the side of the hull and 20 on the rear, and the turret is 50 on the front and then 30 for the sides and the rear, although you do have a gap in the sort of spaced armour around the turret, so that's something to be wary of. You don't want anything hitting you through there with high explosive. And it's essentially a more manoeuvrable version of the Panzer IV-H. Like I say, it's got slightly less armour on the front, which gives it a slightly better power to weight ratio, and to give you an idea, it's even slightly better than the Sherman Easy 8, and they're quite a nippy tank, so you know this does get around the battlefield quite easily. So we'll have a look at some of the gun stats first. Well, like I said, it's 7.5cm KWK-40 L48, which is the same as one of the top gun choices on the Panzer IV. However, the Panzer IV-H gets a rate of fire of 15 rounds a minute. This has got 13.95. Same penetration and damage as the Panzer IV, which is 110 for both, 158 on your premium ammunition, and your high explosive a 38 and 175, although this does get a slightly better aiming time at 2 seconds dead on as opposed to 2.3 with the same accuracy of 0.39. It does have a better hull traverse though at 40 degrees, whereas the Panzer IV-H is 32. Turret traverse is both 44, and view range is the same, although the Panzer IV-H does have a slightly higher signal range at 710 metres. 620 for the Panzer IV Hydro does feel a little bit sort of below average. Shell costs are 70 for your armour piercing, which are quite nice and cheap, 2,800 for your APCR, and 38 for your high explosive. Now I got the fully loaded version, so it came with vents, gun rammer and a gun lane drive. And I can't really see much wrong with that. I know it's a bit of a boring setup and a bit safe, but it's alright actually, although you could possibly get rid of the vents and maybe stick coated optics on, something like that, to improve your view range. It is quite a good fast flanker, and you can get around the battlefield quite quickly, like I say, and sort of relocate to where you need to be. So armour figures, let's have a look. Well, let's have a look at the modules first. Like I say, it's got a slightly better power to weight ratio than the Panzer IV-H. That's 17 point something. This is 18.71, and it does 8 kilometers an hour more than the Panzer IV-H as well at 48, whereas that's 40. Reverse speed is 20 kilometers an hour, and there's a 20% chance of fire on your engine, and it's quite a large engine towards the back of the tank. It does take up a lot of space, and well, you'll see on the armour figure there's actually a bit of thin armour around where the engine is, so you are going to have to be fairly careful. I've not been set on fire in it yet, but I'm sure it's coming. You've actually got really good gun depression on these, and I didn't realise how good the gun depression was on these lower tier German vehicles. I'm used to the German tanks sort of having not great gun depression, but not bad gun depression either, you know, sort of quite middling and middle ground around the sort of 7-8 degrees, sometimes a bit less than that. But you know, you don't associate them with brilliant gun depression, but 10 degrees is really quite good, and you can work the ridgelines really quite well in this, and it was a pleasant surprise to have such good gun depression. That's the same as the T29 and I think the T32, and you know, they are known for having good gun depression. You've also got quite a good elevation of 20 degrees, so if anything gets above you, you shouldn't have much difficulty hitting them. Now, your terrain resistances do seem quite good as well. Your hard terrain, or I'm assuming it's your hard terrain, like I say, is 0.9, then you've got 1.2, and in fact, no, sorry, I've read that wrong. You've got 0.9, 1, and 2.1. So it does slow down quite a little bit on the boggy terrain, so do try and avoid that if you can. You've got your radio for anybody that's wanting to take that out and try and isolate them. It's just under the front of the turret on the right hand side of the tank. And then your ammunition, 2 big blocks towards the front of the hull, just behind where the driver would sit. You've got quite a good shell velocity on your APCR of 988 meters a second, although the AP rounds are slightly low possibly, so you may have to lead your targets just that little bit more. And then for your crew, you've got the commander sat right up in the cupola, you've got 2 crewmen in the front, and you've got the loader and the gunner just up in the turret there as well. Now the concealment on this is not too bad. It's 0.26 stationary and 0.19 moving, so it's not the stealthiest tank, but it's definitely not the most noticeable either. And that seems to be the thing with this. It's, you know, it's not particularly outstanding in any one way, but it all comes together to make quite a nice tank, quite a nice fast flanking medium tank. And you quite often find that with some of these premium ones. There's nothing particularly outstanding on some of them, but it all just comes together to make something very nice. Now, armour wise, you've got 1 to 20mm, which is the spaced armour around the turret, the whole back of the tank, and you can see that upper part of the side of the tank towards the rear as well is actually quite thin, so that's a good place to try and hit it. You're more likely to penetrate there. And you've got the tracks, which obviously act as an amount of spaced armour. The whole top of the turret and the top deck, and that very well sloped upper plate is quite thin as well. But with the angling, I don't think you're going to have much trouble with shells penetrating you there. If they're going to penetrate the front, it's going to be on the flatter parts. Now 21 to 30, well, the figures, we've got a 30 for the side and rear of the turret, and it does seem to be that, and basically the side of the hull through the tracks and the front 2/3 of the hull are looking around 30mm, and then your 50mm is the front of the turret all over, including the gun mantle, and the 2 flat plates on the front where the driver's viewport is, and also I would say it's your sort of, I don't know, upper lower plate maybe on the front there. That's your 50mm areas. You're not going to be bouncing loads of shots in this, but if you angle it well, you can actually bounce a few shots, especially from the lower tiers. And with it having preferential matchmaking, it only sees up to tier 6. Well, I've been in 1 tier 6 match today, and all the rest were tier 5, so most, I'd say 99% of the time, you're probably going to end up top tier. Although don't quote me on that, because now I've said that, you'll probably never end up top tier. Now, a bit of a surprise is the commander's hatch is actually 91 to 120mm. Again, no exact figures, which is a bit frustrating, but it is unusual that the commander's hatch is the strongest point on the tank, and that has caught a few people out when I've been in this. They've gone for the commander's hatch and actually bounced off it, where they probably would have penetrated the front of my hull quite easily. Now, crew skills. I've just got my Tiger crew in here because they need a bit of love and attention, so I've put them in to try and train them up. But definitely train up camouflage and swap it out for Sixth Sense, then maybe camouflage again. Possibly repairs, because you really don't want to get tracked in one of these, because it's a bit like your light tanks. You get tracked, you're just going to get hit and penetrated, so the quicker you can get your tracks back up, the better off you'll be. Possibly silent running, maybe clutch braking to improve that hull traverse even better, and I would say maybe with the poor soft terrain resistances, maybe the off-road driving could help out there as well. But enough of that. I think I've covered everything. Oh, the percentages, 40% XP bonus and a 40% silver bonus, so it's not a bad crew trainer and money earner. And you know, you could, if you wanted to, probably fire a lot of premium ammunition in this and still make money, or at least not lose it. Although, to be honest, I don't think you need to. I don't think I've had to fire any premium ammunition in this so far. Yeah, I don't think I have at all, actually. So anyway, enough of that. Let's get on to the replays and see how it actually handles. Right, so here we are for the first of the replays. It's tier 6. No, it's not. It's a tier 5 match. It's on Thiepval Ridge and it's a standard battle. Like I say, I think I've only been in one tier 6 match in this today. And I got killed by artillery, I think it was, quite early on, so that was it. And then it was just tier 5s for the rest of the time in this, which is quite nice. So, first of all, I'm going to start moving across on this flank. Like I say, it is quite a nippy thing, this. Good traverse, decent rate of fire, although it did catch me out a little bit at first, because I was expecting it to just be the same as the Panzer IV-H, and it's not. It is just over 1 round a minute slower, so it did catch me out slightly, but when you get used to it, it's quite a nice little flanking medium, like I say. And with that pleasantly surprising -10 gun depression, you can really work the ridgelines in it as well. And a lot of the time when you're doing that, they'll try and snipe your commander's hatch, but again, like with that being the thickest armour that you've got on your tank, it can sometimes troll them a bit. Now, most of our team seem to have gone down the western side, and there doesn't seem to be many of us over here. I tend to come this way if I'm in a medium or a light tank, and I tend to go down the western side in the heavies or heavily armoured tank destroyers, that sort of thing. I just think there's better positions over here. You've got more room to manoeuvre with your mediums on this side than you do the other side. I'm just keeping an eye out, because normally you get somebody coming out of there and you get them popping up on the hill just like they have. So I'm going to pull back. I've not been spotted. In fact, it looks like it's one of our light tanks possibly that spotted all these guys, so I'm going to take advantage. I'm out of their view range, so they're not going to see me when I'm shooting at them. DW2's up there somewhere. I think he might have moved by now. I'm going to risk one more shot. I've got lots of ammo and quite a good rate of fire, so I'm just trying to spot them myself, but I think I'm just a bit out of range. Right, can't spot them from there, so I'm going to move a bit closer, using the terrain to hide my tank, and just peek out from here and see if I can spot anything up there. Oh, there we go. There's a light tank. He's not seen me yet, but he will do in a minute. There we go. And this is where I should have possibly pulled back a bit sooner. I do take a bit of a risk, although there's not much of my tank showing, to be honest. I think it is mostly the commander's cupola. And even though it is the thicker part of your tank, when it's not angled like that, something with decent penetration will still get through it. And I've just taken another hit, and I really probably should have moved back, but I wanted to take out that tank destroyer. And I think at this point I wasn't holding out a great deal of hope, and because basically the other guys that come with me on this side have either abandoned me or died, and I've got my arse in the breeze out here on my own, and it looked like there was a light tank that had managed to sneak right round behind and disappear. So I was keeping an eye on the map, but I'm also keeping an eye on over there on that ridge, on that hill, sorry, which is where those shots were coming from. And I'm just trying to get into a position where I can use that gun depression, but still try and keep hidden. And it'll just angle those frontal plates that are quite flat and hopefully bounce. And this is where I go a bit herpaderp. Didn't quite realise where he was. He's obviously gone a bit herpaderp and didn't quite realise I was here either. And thankfully, because we both did it at the same time, I was able to get the shots off first and take care of him. Now that T-70's having another go, so I'm going to just pull forwards and use this embankment to hide most of my tank, and that was a very lucky shot. That wasn't even fully aimed. Orange Jesus is on my side tonight. Now if I pull back just enough, yeah, I can hit the KV-1S from here. Well, in theory I can hit the KV-1S from here. There we go. and he's at a bit of a funny angle for me to actually get through the side of his tank. It just seems to be, well, he's angled in two directions. He's sort of angled on the horizontal and the vertical where he is, and I've got a feeling he's still up there, and he was. He's just popped up again, and that's all she wrote for the KV-1S. And I'm not even sure that he could see me. I think he obviously knew he was getting shot from this direction, but I don't think I'd actually shown up on radar that time, which was quite lucky. And now we've got that light tank in the base, and I should be quick enough, well, I'll definitely be quick enough to get back, because they've extended the capping times for Pz.Kpfw Ridge. I think it's one of the bigger maps, and it was in this latest update they've actually extended the capping time, which is quite good, because I've often found on this level you don't really have enough time to get back if you're over towards the other side of the map. It is, even in a fast tank, it takes a long time to get back. And that's what I'm going to try and do, and it's really not looking too good now on the scores. It's 7-12, and that's in the enemy's favour. There's me and two other guys left, and one of them looks as though he's about to get surrounded. And the guy that was in the cap has now left. Right, DW2's just popped up. That was... probably should have waited for that to fully aim. I'm going to try and take him out, and again... oh, I got his tracks, and that's where I made a mistake, because I thought I'd missed, and I went to move, but if I'd just stayed aiming at where he was, I probably would have taken him out. Now the light tank that was in the base, I was half expecting him to come this way, but then I think that's actually him that popped up over there. I know there are two lights left, but seeing as he's not capping anymore, I'm pretty sure that that's the one. And then the DW2 pops back up, and he gets taken out before I can get even get aimed at him. Now at this point, I was trying to join up with this heavy down here and see if I could basically sweep round the river on the bottom side of the trenches and up to try and support that other one, because I am quick enough, and I was hoping he'd be able to sort of hold them off, but he does more than hold them off, he starts killing them off. And it's a KV-1S, and the KV-1S, I did enjoy that tank. I thought it was a very good tank. And I was just about to sweep round here, because I thought, well, the Churchill over there can take care of the T-34. I'll go and help this guy because he's outnumbered. And yeah, he just starts killing him off, so I'll leave him to take care of the Stuart on his own. He doesn't seem to need my help, and decide to turn around and come back and give this Churchill a hand with the T-34. So T-34 is very manoeuvrable. It's got enough penetration to get through the turret of the Churchill, and definitely the sides of it and the rear. And if you start circling him, the Churchill could be in trouble. But again, it kind of don't look like he needs my help either. I dunk my first shot into the rocks, get the next one into the back of him, and just finish him off. The Churchill took off most of his health, so I felt a bit redundant for both of those then. And all we've got left now is the enemy artillery. So it looked as though it was going to be a loss, because we were 5 tanks down, thanks to the KV-1S, his efforts, and the Churchill, and not really any of my own. We've actually managed to turn it around, and there's now the 3 of us against the enemy artillery, so that was quite a nice surprise result. When I was on the way back to the cap to try and take care of that light tank that was capping, I really did think that this match was over and that we'd lost. So it just goes to show you, you know, with a couple of good plays you can turn it around. And I'm not saying that it was me that was a good player. The KV-1S and the Churchill were, though. And that's it, that's the match. And it did look as though the enemy artillery had basically just given up there. But I came out of that with a top gun, which was nice. Just over 1500 damage done, and a high caliber as well, which is always nice. And a second class mastery. But as you can see there, the KV-1S, came out there with 7 kills, over 2000 damage done. And the other guy, the Churchill, that was left with us, he actually came 3rd. And between us 3, we actually killed the entire enemy team. So that was quite an amusing result on that one. Now this next little bit that's coming up, it's not really a replay, it's just something that happened to me today while I was getting the Hydrostat footage, and it really knocked me, it really annoyed me. And yeah, it's this. I was just working that corner in the Hydrostat, and then the OI, or is it an OI experimental, just decided to completely push me out the way and out into enemy fire, so thanks for that. Anyway, back to the actual replays. This is a tier 5 match again, standard battle, and it's on Cliff, and it's the rain variant. And just while the match is going, yeah, that really did annoy me, and I didn't name and shame the guy, because, you know, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. It could have been an accident. I don't think it was, personally. It just seemed a bit too deliberate, but it could have been an accident. He may just not have been looking where he's going, and it is a tall tank. Sometimes you can't quite see what's in front of you, so I didn't name and shame him, but if it was an accident, then he really should be paying more attention to what's in front of his tank. You know, if it wasn't an accident, then he was just being a douche. But anyway, back to this match. And I'm going to head up my usual way. I really don't like going into Death Valley, as I like to call it, down on the western side there, down the 1 and 2 line. Leave that to the tank destroyers and the very heavily armoured frontal heavies that like to go and camp there. It's not for me, not in a medium. It just turns into a shooting gallery from one end to the other, so with the good gun depression on this, I'm going to come up this way and try and work this ridge a little bit. But something spots me, and I actually think it's on the left, but that's when it pops up in front of me and he manages to put one through my turret. But I've now pulled back enough so that I'm not giving him much to shoot at, really, and I managed to set him on fire, I think, with my first shot. And the poor guy should have really carried a fire extinguisher as he burns away most of his health. Now we've got a Stug 3G and a Type 95. Now if he starts slinging high explosive, I could be in trouble. There's a few places on this I think he could pen with those. So I'm going to try and work this ridge again, but I seem to have lost my spot that I had before when my gun depression was enough, and now it doesn't seem to be. So I don't know what's happened there, but I tried to find it, but the Type 95 seems interested in something else other than me. So I'm going to pop out, put one into the Stug, and I think I tracked him, so that's him pinned in place. And I took a hit there, I think, from the Type 95. Well, I definitely took one from the Type 95 then, but I wanted to take that Stug out. Stug's quite a dangerous opponent. Now the T67, I was going to put a shot into him, but instead I decided to just crash into the rock. So somebody else finishes him off, and this time the match is going heavily in our favour. It's 10-3 in our favour, so it's a bit of a sort of rollover almost. And there's a Matilda creeping up the hill. Poor guy's probably he's probably set off from base at the beginning of the match and he's only just getting up the hill. They are not the fastest of machines. I do like the Matilda, but it is painfully slow. I'm just going to keep putting the shots in. I think somebody's tracked him, or I've tracked him, and that's him done for. And now it's just down to us and Artie again. And I know there's sort of marking over there on the map, but I'm pretty sure I saw him pop up on the radar over near the base. In fact, there he is, but with how many people are moving in, I don't think I'm going to get there to get a shot off, and nope, he gets it from 2 directions at the same time. And that's the match. So that's the Panzer IV Hydro. Like I say, fast flanking medium. Decent gun with a decent rate of fire, very comparable to the actual Panzer IV-H in the tech tree, but I quite like it. It's been a nice surprising little tank. It's not got the frontal armour of the Panzer IV-H, but you can definitely make it work, and if you use that gun depression you can actually come out quite well. So yeah, I'm quite taken by it. It's a nice little tank to have a run about in and have some fun in at tier 5, so definitely not regretting buying it, and you know, I did miss it last time, and I'm quite happy I picked it up now. Anyway, as always, take care out there, and I'll catch you next time. See you later.